How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another awesome video. This time we're going to be checking out what happens after a city removes a freeway. So, I've been doing all sorts of different kind of reactions. If you're new to the channel, how's it going? My name's CharlieVest. Obviously, if you're new or if you're not new to the channel and you've been watching, you already know. I've been doing a lot of different stuff. A lot of not just bikes reactions, stuff like that that compares different just different stuff like infrastructure and whatnot, right? So, what happens after a city removes a freeway? Now, I'm fairly certain that this one is in the United States based. It's not necessarily like a European city. I don't know. We're going to find out for sure. But it's by the original channel called City Beautiful. Find the link to the original video in the description section down below. Make sure you go check them out and show the original video some love by dropping a like on their stuff. So, we're going to find out what happens after a city removes a freeway. So I'm assuming they're trying to make it more bike friendly. That's usually what's going on with, getting rid of the freeways, making it more pedestrian friendly, better for like public transportation and stuff. So we're going to find out together.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
Skillshare.
Get 2 months of free access to thousands of courses by visiting the link in the description.
I'm here at the Seattle waterfront, where there's a great deal of construction happening right behind me.
Seattle.
In 2019, the Alaskan Way Viaduct, a double-decked highway, was removed and a tunnel replaced it. Now, I made a video about this very topic 4 years ago, where I said,
the entire project should wrap up in 2020, nearly 20 years after the 2001 earthquake.
Alaskan Way. Okay, so is there a highway, because Alaska is separated from the United States, right? You have to go through Canada to get there. Now, do they have like a path directly through? Like, if I wanted to go to Alaska, could I drive there without having a passport? Maybe that's what this tunnel's for. So you have direct access and it shoots shoots you straight through. I don't know. We're gonna find out though. That's something I have always been curious about though. Like, how does this work with Alaska? It's like it's on the other side of another country. How do we go back and forth? You know what I mean?
well, it's 2021 and the project still isn't finished. But this video isn't about the complexities of designing a mega project. That was the theme of the previous video. This video is all about waterfronts and how difficult it can be to connect a city back to its waterfront like they're trying to do here in Seattle. Many cities like Seattle cut themselves off from the waterfront by building freeways, and now they are considering removing them just like Seattle did.
What do you mean? I don't understand what they mean by they cut themselves. So so the waterfront's here and the city skyline's here, so they just shot the freeway right next to it because that was just like an open path when cars came around, cities were already there. I don't know. This is why I like to learn, guys. Hit like, hit subscribe if you like to learn as well. This is cool.
When a city like Seattle does remove its freeway, can it turn back around to face the waterfront again, or will it still have to deal with the pressures of having a major arterial artery running right along the waterfront, like this one here? We'll get into that right after the bike bell.
The Washington State Department of Transportation is rebuilding Alaskan Way between Terminal 46 and a new waterfront park at Pier 62.
Okay, so it's just Alaskan Way. So regardless, though, this is just a highway named Alaskan Way. I want to know how you get to Alaska from Washington State or Oregon State or something. You know what I mean?
In between, you have a water taxi terminal, ferry terminal, large Ferris wheel, but not London Eye large, aquarium, and somewhat tourist-oriented restaurants and shops.
A ferry, I bet. You take the ferry to Alaska, obviously an airplane, but can you just drive? Can I drive through Canada without a passport if Alaska is my destination? I don't know.
Right now, the waterfront feels a little disjointed, and not just because there's a massive construction zone right next to it. But Seattle's new Alaskan Way project aims to bring cohesiveness to the space so people can move up and down the corridor with ease. At the same time, the city hopes the project will reconnect downtown Seattle to the water and bring people from nearby tourist attractions like stadiums and Pike Place Market through Alaskan Way into the piers. Finally, the project team hopes to make Alaskan Way a new destination itself, a waterfront park. You've basically got three things happening at once: connect downtown to the waterfront, create a linear connection between all of the piers, and create a new destination space. That's a lot of arrows, and it's just a lot of competing ideas and traffic flows. Yeah. And this is where the task of replacing a freeway gets challenging. How do you reconcile all of these competing uses? Now, Seattle isn't the first city to contemplate this question. One of the first waterfront freeway removals happened in the 1970s, just a few hours south on I-5 in Portland, Oregon.
Okay. Well, then let's look at Portland and find out how did they do it? Like how, in the 70s, that was like 50 years ago. So right around the time that the Netherlands was getting rid of their car, because the car is almost destroyed. Like Amsterdam, for instance, it was just taken over. There was people getting in wrecks and get killed all the time. So in the 70s, they started stripping that back and making it more bike friendly. I wonder if that's why Portland, Oregon did it around that same time too. Similar reasons, or maybe they're just kind of like, maybe they got the idea from the Netherlands. I don't know.
The city removed the Harbor Drive Freeway in 1974 and decided to replace it with a 30-acre waterfront park and promenade constructed in 1978.
Nice.
It's a gorgeous green ribbon that hosts festivals like the Waterfront Blues Festival and Bite of Oregon. It's truly a destination. That removal was a major milestone in the freeway removal movement that continues to this day. Just 2 weeks ago, the Congress for the New Urbanism released its Freeways Without Futures report. It identified 15 freeways in cities from Tulsa to Tampa, New York to New Orleans, that have organized efforts to see them removed. The report even highlighted another Seattle freeway, I-5. That freeway cuts right through the heart of the city, and the report promotes Lit I-5, a grassroots effort to completely cap the freeway through downtown and put a park and other urban amenities on top.
Okay. That might be kind of cool. I don't know. It'd be kind of like a tunnel in a way, but
And a week before
not
that,
necessarily.
the New York Times published a brilliant front-page report on the damages wrought by urban freeway construction and all of the freeways that could be removed in U.S. cities. I'll put links to all these resources in the description. The New York Times article goes beyond identifying potential freeway removals and focuses on Rochester's Inner Loop Freeway Replacement Project.
Now, this is Rochester, New York. I live in Rochester, Indiana. Way smaller place. There's only 6,000 people in the population here.
That freeway was replaced by a narrow 3-lane road, bike lanes, and housing. Rochester didn't feel the need to replace the freeway with a wide surface boulevard designed to carry freeway levels of traffic. Portland and Rochester offered 2 possibilities for how to replace a freeway. Use the reclaimed land for a park, or use it for more buildings. The Rochester approach to replacing the freeway with buildings could address one of the key weaknesses of the waterfront space in Seattle. The existing downtown buildings that make up the edge of downtown, well, they leave something to be desired.
Yeah.
The old viaduct had been there since 1953, and the buildings along the viaduct that were right up against it are the kind of buildings you'd expect along a freeway. You got self-storage, a parking garage, a downtown steam plant, and other less than exciting buildings.
Yeah.
If Michigan Avenue in Chicago is the pinnacle of architecture facing a waterfront,
Michigan Avenue in Chicago, huh? I've been there. I literally have a picture taken by this thing that they call the giant bean. Like, I've been on these streets. I didn't know that that was supposed to be like the pinnacle of a water-facing skyline. It looks cool, though. I mean, I like it, It's pretty neat. I'm thinking about going back to Chicago at some point, actually.
these buildings are somewhere in the sub-basement. This may not seem like a big deal. Most people want to check out the water, but the very next thing you do is turn around and look back at the skyline. And these frontage buildings help define the waterfront space itself. The Rochester approach could give the city an opportunity to create a new backdrop for the waterfront promenade.
Yeah.
If the buildings include housing, the city could require a certain percentage of housing in this area to be affordable, or collect fees from the developers in this highly desirable real estate to fund affordable housing in other parts of the city. These new buildings could create new definition along the edge and bring the city right up to the water. I'm proposing these hypothetical design ideas to illustrate the fact that there are many ways to replace a freeway and connect a city with its waterfront. These are just a couple of options based on past precedents. But Seattle's actual approved plan took a different approach. Unlike Portland or Rochester, Seattle retained the freeway but buried it underground. Alaskan Way, the street that ran along the viaduct, had 2 but buried.
How did they bury underground? If they retained the freeway, then wouldn't that would lead you to believe the freeway was already there. Normally, freeways are usually above ground. So how did they bury it? Did they drop it in the earth, or did they put the earth around it? I don't understand.
Buried it underground. Alaskan Way, the street that ran along the viaduct, had 2 car lanes in each direction and ran between the waterfront promenade and the viaduct. It was meant for serving local traffic as well as traffic coming and going from the ferry. Without the viaduct, it may seem logical that you wouldn't really need to expand the capacity of the street, and you might even be able to give Alaskan Way a road diet, with 1 lane in each direction, a turn lane, and a cycle track. But that's not what's planned. The State Highway Department is in charge of rebuilding Alaskan Way. State highway departments are very good at designing transportation systems, usually highways, for moving people and goods through corridors. They may not be as good at envisioning a corridor as a destination in and of itself. That means those linear arrows on the diagram are getting priority big time under this existing scheme. The plan for the roadway part of this waterfront project is 2 continuous car travel lanes in each direction, a bus lane in each direction, a cycle track, and expanded pedestrian space. At the ferry terminal, there will be 2 turn lanes. That means if you're a pedestrian who wants to go from Pioneer Square to the waterfront, you're crossing 8 auto and bus lanes. This configuration will dedicate much of the newly freed up land to more transportation and potentially undermine the destination program and connection between downtown and the waterfront.
What they need to do is go to the Netherlands, check out some of the cities over there, and incorporate the bike safe, friendly neighborhood infrastructure that they have. Do that.
The old Alaskan Way also had 2 car lanes in either direction, but none of the other great bus, bike, and pedestrian infrastructure. My question is, if you're adding all of these other ways for people to move through this corridor, why do you still need 2 car lanes in each direction? Ideally, by offering robust non-car options, you would reduce traffic enough to only need 1 lane each way. And it's not like this project is ignoring drivers. The state DOT spent over $3 billion to put the highway underground. Removing car lanes on Alaskan Way sounds a little radical until you consider the Embarcadero in San Francisco. They tore down a freeway there and replaced it with a boulevard with 2 or 3 lanes in each direction. They're currently planning on reducing the number of car lanes. Portland is reducing a lane on Nadeau Parkway along their waterfront park and replacing it with a cycle track. Basically, cities with big waterfront boulevards have been taking cars off of them.
So it sounds like in some of these places, they're literally starting to do what the Netherlands did 50 years ago. So we're 50 years behind, guys.
I understand that these ideas are easy to throw out there. I'm fully aware of the constraints that the planning and design teams were under when coming up with this existing scheme. The Port of Seattle and the state ferry system need local road access. And I'll admit that I think some of the ideas for the waterfront promenade are pretty good, too. In fact, the book Urban Waterfront Promenades, perhaps the definitive book on this subject, has an entire section devoted to promenades built along a freeway. If you can make the space work with an active freeway nearby, you can make it work with a wide boulevard.
Go check that book out, guys, if that's something you're into for sure. It seems interesting, actually.
Elizabeth McDonald, the author, suggests several attributes that make up a successful urban waterfront, and Seattle's plan has several.
Now that, not trying to cut it off in the middle of a sentence, but that looks nice. I would love walking around there. That looks cool. I would enjoy that.
Suggests several attributes that make up a successful urban waterfront, and Seattle's plan has several, including places to get close to water. That's the point of a waterfront promenade, right? And Seattle already has many places to stand or sit overlooking Elliott Bay. Uninterrupted movement. Except for the ferry terminal, pedestrians will be able to walk along the entire length of the promenade without crossing paths with cars or being forced away from the waterfront and onto city streets.
Awesome. I like that. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't know. Maybe they do have some input from the Netherlands, or maybe they're just, I don't know, because it's starting to be more well known that Europe has better infrastructure. There's more Americans starting to see that now. So that might be why there's a little bit more of this kind of movement starting to happen in some cities here. I don't know.
A place for moving with leisure. The promenade will be wide enough for people to stroll while still allowing fast walkers to move past easily. The space should not feel overly crowded even on busy days. And places to sit. Enjoying the view is a critical part of using the promenade. And Seattle has a great view of the water and a great view of the skyline. The proposed designs include many seating options, including swinging benches, which frankly look like a lot of fun. But as I've mentioned, Seattle's plan may not.
They should have the swinging benches where it swings over the water, right? Where you sit there and you swing over. That'd be cool.
Swinging benches, which frankly look like a lot of fun. But as I've mentioned, Seattle's plan may not hit the mark with some of the other attributes McDonald has identified, including ease of access. As the author says, the best urban waterfront promenades are easy to reach. An overly wide boulevard with crossing distances so long that a median resting point is needed may not provide ease of access.
Why don't they do the bike tunnels like they do in the Netherlands, or just do like a bridge where you can walk across over the highway and not have to be messing with the traffic, like a little walking bridge over the highway? That'd be cool.
Complementing an inclusive frontage. A parking garage, self-storage, steam plant, and other nondescript buildings aren't much to look at. But hey, redevelopment may occur if the waterfront promenade is a successful public space in other ways. Seattle's New Alaskan Way is still a massive construction site, and all we have to go on are the plans put forth by the Washington State DOT. In a few years, I may return to this topic again to laud the amazing new waterfront Seattle has built for itself. But success is not a foregone conclusion. And this video wasn't meant to dunk on Seattle planners, but to demonstrate that there are always multiple alternatives for any new development project. And the priorities established at the beginning of a process can have a major impact on the final outcomes.
Well, and how many times, you know, you do something and you're like, oh, this is where it's at. This is, like rearrange your living room or your bedroom or something, right? Well, a few months later, you start realizing after you're living in it, like it's not as efficient. So you're like, you know what? I need to rearrange it to make it more efficient for my needs. Same thing with these cities. That's all they're doing. They're realizing that it's not efficient. What do we do now? Let's change it before it gets worse, and they're just rearranging. That's what you got to do to improve.
I hope this video inspired you to think more critically about major urban design and redevelopment projects happening in your community.
Yeah.
The graphics I used to diagram my ideas were made using Google Earth imagery, CAD Mapper, a great resource for downloading line drawings of cities, and Adobe Illustrator. Maybe you want to make some persuasive diagrams of your own, but don't have the know-how just yet.
Maybe.
Well, Skillshare has you covered.
Oh, Skillshare will hook you up.
They have courses in Google Earth and Adobe Illustrator,
so
and you could be on your way to...
Go check that out, guys. Links to the original video are in the description section down below, as always. Any input is welcome, so comment down below, hit like, hit subscribe, have a super fun, awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, take care.